Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my absolutely insane TBR for June. Normally I use a TBR jar to help me pick my prompts, but I decided to do something a little bit fun this month because I am turning 30 and quite frankly not enjoying that number. So, we're trying to romanticize this as much as I possibly can. So I decided to pick 30 books from my physical TBR to put on my list for the month that I might want to read, kind of like a mood reading month. I don't really think that I'm going to get to all 30 of these because I haven't hit that number before in a month, but I thought it would be fun to kind of have a list still without being like super restrictive with it, so that I can kind of mood read through some of the books that I've been really eyeing recently. So this is obviously only half of the stack. I figured we would go over my special editions first and then get into some of the other ones. I have Kindle books on here that I don't even own. I have some rereads on here as well. So we got a wide range of things. I will say, this list changed a couple different times. I have so many books that I really want to get to, and it depends very heavily on the day. So I might just scrap all of these, and God only knows, but like right now, these are the ones that I'm very, very intrigued to get to. So first up, we have Immortal Consequences by a.k.a. Marie. I think we're going to bring you guys a little closer. Okay, that's a little better. Now you can actually see the title of the book. Okay, so Immortal Consequences by a.k.a. Marie. This says, welcome to Blackwood Academy, a school located at the edge of the afterlife. Once a pupil passes through the academy's arched gates, there's no way out, except if they triumph at the decennial. Winning allows a single student to be granted a choice: graduate and join Blackwood's magical elite, or cross over to the mysterious unknown other side. So there are 6 students that have a chance to win this decennial and finally like graduate and join the magical elite. It sounds like such a cool premise. I had heard really good things when this came out. I think the second one is coming out or recently came out. So I do really want to get to this. It has gorgeous end pages. I love this edition of this book. And I do love a good academy setting. So I'm very excited about this one, obviously. And then here's the other side of the dust jacket. Next up on my list, we have Mistress of Lies. This is actually on my 26 and 2026 TBR. I think my boyfriend put this one on because I don't remember picking this one. But look at this stunning end page art. So, so pretty. And this is about a daughter of a powerful but disgraced blood worker. She spent her entire life perfecting her blood magic, building a network of spies, and gathering scraps of power. Now to protect her brother, she assassinates their father and takes her place at the head of the family. And that's the start of her revenge. Samuel Hutchinson is a bastard with a terrible gift. When he stumbles upon the first victim of a magical serial killer, he's drawn into the world of sorcery and intrigue he's worked so hard to avoid, and is pulled deeply into the ravenous and bloodthirsty court of the Vampire King. Tasked to discover the identity of the serial killer, cutting a bloody swath through the city, Samuel, Sean, and mysterious royal blood worker Isaac find themselves growing ever closer to each other. I think this might be a why choose. I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with this one, but the premise sounds really, really cool. A magical serial killer? Like, I just like reading thriller books with serial killers in them generally. So you throw magic in there and you got me hooked. Speaking of thrillers, we have The Ghostwriter. This is just like a deluxe edition that was printed. I think I got this at Target. This is about a young woman who is in fact a ghostwriter for different authors. She is approached by her father to help write his last book. The problem is her father was accused of being responsible for the death of his family when he was younger. He never kind of shook that belief that everybody had in him. And as a result, his daughter really doesn't have a good relationship with him. So he approaches her going, hey, can you help me with this last book? She agrees before he passes away. And then she realizes that this is actually him trying to explain what happened that night in 1975. So after 50 years of silence. And I think this is probably going to have a lot of like mind-bendy moments, a lot of maybe like unreliable narrators since the daughter automatically doesn't like her father. I don't know, but I am intrigued for that one. Then we have City of Brass. This is like the deluxe edition they recently came out with last year. My partner at work actually got me this for Christmas. I love the color of this cover. And I'd heard really good things about the series, just hadn't gotten around to picking it up. So I was really excited when he picked this up for me. This one also has magic. It's set on the streets of Cairo in the 18th century, and the main female character is a con woman with unsurpassed talent. But she knows better than anyone that the trade she uses to get by, palm reading czars and a mysterious gift for healing, are all tricks, both the means to delight the end of swindling Ottoman nobles and a reliable way to survive. But when Nari accidentally summons Dara, an equally sly, darkly mysterious Jin warrior, to her side during one of her cons, she's forced to reconsider her beliefs. Dara tells Nari an extraordinary tale across hot, windswept sands teeming with creatures of fire and rivers, where the mythical Merid sleep, past ruins of once magnificent human metropolises and mountains where the circling birds of prey are more than what they seem, lies... Oh no. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Davabad, the legendary city of brass, a city to which Nari is irrevocably bound. In this city, gilded brass walls laced with enchantments, and behind the 6 gates of the 6 Jin tribes, old resentments run deep, and when Nari decides to enter this world, her arrival threatens to ignite a war that has been simmering for centuries. I've never read anything with Jin or that type of magic or just this setting before, and I'm very, very interested in it. Then we have A Dance of Lies. This was really popular last year, and I just never got around to it, but this is the gorgeous Fairy Loot edition. I just want to share these end pages with you guys. I'm not going over all of them, but like the ones that are really stunning. I mean, this book's just stunning. So let's look at the description really quick. I kind of have a vague memory. This is like about a dancer in a king's court, but the king framed her for murder. So she spent 2 years in prison for this murder that she didn't commit. The king comes to her with a deal, poses a dancer at the royal gathering, spy on his enemies, and he'll grant her freedom. Unfortunately, she realizes that the king is not a good person, which she already realized when he framed her for murder, but now he expects her to do all of these terrible things, and she has to try to figure out what she can do to survive while not doing these terrible things. Also, this reversible dust jacket. She is stunning. So, yeah, like I said, heard good things about that one last year. I think Emmy was really obsessed with this one, which is why I'm so intrigued by it. I also think this is another one that's on my 2026 TBR. Then we have one that everybody was raving about last year, and I finally got the Fairy Loot copy this year, and now I really do want to read it. I know Furybound recently released, so yeah, this is Direbound. This is pretty much the equivalent of Fourth Wing, but with direwolves is what I understood. And I think the main female character, she is trying to save her sister, I believe. Yeah, her little sister's kidnapped, so she is desperate to cross to the front lines of this war that's happening, save her sister, so she, the main female character, enlists in an army and is thrown into the deadly bonding trials where she's expected to try to bond with these dire wolves, and it kind of just goes from there. So I've heard, like I said, incredible things. All of these I've heard incredible things about, so sorry for continuing to repeat that phrase, but I did really enjoy Fourth Wing. The idea of having dire wolves in it instead is kind of fun to me. Then we have this Monster of Mine. I actually saw this in the bookstore a few months ago and was really interested in it. I don't know why it caught my attention, but it did. And then I was like, wait, that title sounds familiar. I think I actually own a copy of this book, and I do, in fact. And it's a beautiful copy. I don't remember anything about this premise, and there is actually not... Oh, there it is. Okay, I must have switched the case around. I'm not sure. So this is about a woman who almost died 4 years prior to the beginning of this story. Somebody had attempted to kill her, that her case was eventually closed without justice. Now she returns to the scene of the crime with a new face and a new job as a petitor, a prosecutor who can magically detect lies. She's assigned to work with the ice-cold and perennially sadistic Tetrarch Kadra, the most vicious of the 4 judges who rules the land, and the prime suspect in a string of deaths is identical to Sari's attempted murder. Certain of his guilt and hell-bent on justice, Sari begins a double life, solving cases with Kadra by day and plotting his ruin by night. But Kadra is charming, and there's something alluring about the wrath he inflicts on the city's corruption. So when the evidence she uncovers embroils her in a deadly political battle, Sari must also fight against her attraction to Kadra. So it's not... Wait, so she thinks that the person she's working for is the person that tried to kill her and is responsible for all of this stuff? Is that what I'm reading properly? I think it is. Ooh, intrigue, lots of intrigue. So, we'll see when I can get to that one. We have 3 more special editions. We have The Poet Empress by Shen Tao. Jamie on YouTube, she absolutely loves this. I know that she got Freya to recently read it. She also really loved this. So I get a lot of my recommendations from the two of them. We have very similar reading taste. So when I saw that I got this in my Fairy Loot, I believe, Illumicrate box, I was so thrilled because this has been on my list for a little bit and then I finally got it. I know that this is set in, I think this is like Chinese mythology for the setting of this, and the main female character, her family is very poor. There's a blight on the land, and she agrees to become a concubine to the emperor to try to sort of pull her family out of this poverty that they are in. She's confined to the imperial court, and she's facing not only danger from the emperor, from the ruler, but also she's facing this war kind of with the other concubines, trying to fight for position of the future empress. To survive, she must harden her heart, rely on her wit, and become dangerous herself, even if it means learning the one forbidden poem that can kill Taryn and save both herself and the nation. But there's a problem. For the spell to work against a man she hates, it must be written with love. So I heard this has poet magic in it. I don't even begin to know what that means, but I've never heard of poet magic before, so that alone kind of sold me. And then we have The Wicked Sea. This is just a deluxe edition with like these silver edges, and then this stunning end page art that alone like sold me when the bookstore owner kind of pointed it out. It obviously is somebody with wings, so I think he's an angel, and then I know the main female character is a mermaid. So she dreams of freedom on the run from dangerous sorcerer. After years of torment, she shed her tail, grew legs, and hid herself on the land in the marrow-loathing kingdom of Mortia. She survives by stealing and bartering on the dirty streets until she's arrested and sentenced to death by the brutal warlock Arian Stone. Arian is beautiful, as cold and deadly, interested solely in executing the marrow he views as evil. He grows strong as any warlock might, but at great personal cost, which can be remedied only by the heart of the god of death, lost to a fabled kingdom somewhere in the ocean's treacherous depths. Despite his contempt for her, Aaron offers Zephyra a deal she can't refuse. Help him find the mystical heart, and he'll spare her life. Ooh, okay. I actually hadn't ever read the description for this. Like I said, the art kind of sold me on it, and I knew it was kind of maybe inspired a little bit by The Little Mermaid, so yeah, that was my first time reading that description. Then, lastly, for my special editions, we have Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. I've read her Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I've read 2 of the books in the Caraval trilogy. I do really enjoy her writing, so I'm kind of itching to get back into one of her worlds, but maybe not the Caraval world. I'm not loving that one. I love her writing, just not that world too much. So this is set in an old movie theater in a class called Folklore 517, Local Legends and Urban Myths. Most students believe the professor's stories are just fiction, but Holland St. James has always been convinced that magic is real. Her search for the truth leads to her dazzling new world, a deadly ultimatum hidden at the heart of Los Angeles and into the path of a magnetic stranger who claims he's been sent to save her life. But everyone in this intoxicating new world is lying to her, even the stranger, and if she can't figure out whom to trust, her magical reality could change from a Hollywood dream to a nightmare. So I think this, if I remember hearing right, is about a woman who is like kind of told that this person knows when she's going to die and how that she can avoid that, so she's trying to find this key to avoiding her death. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that was a description that I thought I heard at one point. So yeah, those are all my special editions. Those are the ones that I tend not to know the most about because I get them in my special edition boxes and I don't always read the descriptions, or they just don't retain very well. So that's why we had to go read through all of those. But now I will get the other books that I have, and those I do actually kind of know the premise for. So the ones that I have that aren't rereads, or all of these stacks, so we'll get right into it. First we have a thriller called She's Not Sorry. I want a couple thrillers on this list as an option. I keep wanting to read them and then never picking them up, and I'm not really sure why. So this is about a woman who works as a nurse in the hospital. This young woman shows up at the hospital in a coma. She had jumped from a bridge and they're trying to save her life, but eventually a witness comes forward with shocking details about the fall, and it starts coming into question whether or not she fell or she jumped or if she was pushed. And this nurse at the hospital starts suddenly getting very invested in this patient's life and what had happened to her, even though she has told herself that she can't get emotionally connected to people. Obviously, I think that might go very off the rails if we're getting personally invested in the lives of a patient as a nurse or doctor. Then we have Face Off by Chelsea Curto. This is a hockey romance, obviously. I've heard incredible things about this entire series, and I've really been trying to read some more indie authors. I know this was recently picked up, but yeah, I really do want to read this. And of course, the Off-Campus series, the TV show, just recently came out. Everybody's obsessed with that, and it kind of makes me want to read some more hockey romances. So yeah, this is actually set not in college, but actually like in the NHL. It's following a female hockey player, which is obviously not the typical setup for this. So she has been waiting for a spot on the NHL roster since she became a professional hockey player, and this season she finally gets the chance to showcase her talent with the struggling DC Stars. The main male character in this is the best player in the league, but he's never had a winning record. He's team captain and desperate to turn things around. He agrees to play nice with the fiery new left winger, even though they're total opposites. After a night where the tension between them reaches a tipping point and they fall in bed together, Emmy and Maverick vow it was only one time. It doesn't mean anything, except what should have just happened once happens again, and then again. So you get the messiness of him being the team captain, her being the new player on the team, and then obviously just the messy tension of her being a female hockey player, I'm sure comes into account there a little bit. Then we have some dark romance. We have Scythe and Sparrow by Bryn Reaver. This is the third book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. Butcher and Blackbird was the first one. I really enjoyed that. All of these are like comedic dark romances following serial killers, which is obviously a weird premise, but somehow she makes it work. This is kind of set in a circus, which is very out of left field for a setting, but it follows a doctor who is running from a broken heart and he hopes to mend it in small town Nebraska. Unfortunately, he ends up finding himself tied to a motorcycle performer named Rose Evans, who ends up getting injured. She is taken care of by the doctor, and they start forming this relationship, even though he doesn't really want a relationship with anything. I think she is the serial killer. I'm not sure. They are introduced in the first two books a couple times. You get to see glimmers of them, and I do think I'm gonna like their story. Then we have The Sweetest Obsession. This is a mafia romance. I think I remember somebody saying this is like one of the best mafia romance series that you can get, or at least a great intro to mafia romance. So I thought I would give it a try. Honestly, I don't really want to know much more about that one, so we're gonna leave that alone. Then we have Lights Out, obviously another dark romance. This is about a trauma nurse who has this obsession with a masked man on social media. She loves watching all of his like videos that he posts. She ends up sending a drunken text to him one night and he decides to take her up. I think she like says that she wishes he would stalk her or something like that. He takes her up on this and actually starts following her around. So it's a little bit of like a stalker romance, but he's invited to stalk her, if I remember hearing the premise correctly. I know that the audiobook for this is supposed to be really good, so maybe we'll give it a listen instead of physically reading it. Then we have Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. Obviously, everybody and their mother was talking about this, I believe, last year, and the next book comes out this year. I know that this has an absolutely wild twist at the end of it that nobody ever seems to really see coming. This is about a small community of people that live on an island in the middle of the sea. She's spent her life, the main female character has spent her life training to be a guard and waiting for her chance to go to the annual market. Like once a year, they are allowed to go to this market. Unfortunately, she manages to break a century-long peace treaty while she's there. She also has an intense encounter with an enemy soldier that now threatens to unwind the fragile coexistence between their people. I think that this is also set like on the sea, maybe like on a ship, so you get a little maybe pirate romance in there. I've been wanting to get more into like pirate-related books because I loved Pirates of the Caribbean, but I never really got around to it. If that's completely off base, please tell me, that way I don't go in with that expectation. Then we have Queen of Thieves and Chaos by a.k.a. Tucker. This is the third book in the Flame and, oh no, I forget what the first book is called. A Fate of Flame and Wrath. And I just never got to reading this third book, but I did really love the first book. It has such a wild premise about this young woman who somehow is transported into a completely different universe, a completely different time, a completely different body. And unfortunately for her, the body that she's now found herself in is running from royalty in the land because she attempted to kill the ruler. And then she's captured and she's like, I have no idea what you people are talking about. I don't even know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know what is going on. And then it just takes off from there. Like, that's the wild premise that it starts with, and somehow it gets even more insane as the book goes on. The second book had a lot of like world building and explanation for the setup for everything, but it wasn't done in a really like middle book syndrome kind of way, so I did really enjoy that one, and I just want to see where the author ends up taking us with that third book. I might have to find some kind of plot synopsis for the first two though, just so that I can really refresh my memory. It's probably been over a year since I read those. Speaking of The Deal, actually, or like the Off-Campus series, we have The Mistake, which is the second book in that series. I've only ever read the first one, and now that I've been seeing the show come out and everybody raving about it and making all these edits and stuff, I really want to get back into it. I don't remember being obsessed with The Deal. It was decent, it was good, I just wasn't crazy about it, so we'll see whether or not this one kind of wins me over. This follows John Logan, somebody that is pretty much known for his hookups and everything, but behind his grins an easygoing charm, he hides a growing despair about the dead-end road he'll be forced to walk after graduation. He ends up having an encounter with a freshman named Grace, and he kind of like falls into this distraction, I guess, with her. The problem is she doesn't really want to take him back. I guess he made this big mistake and she's not willing to give him a second chance. He is, I guess, working on trying to convince her otherwise. We love a man that grovels, and that's what it sounds like that book is going to give. Then we had The Blood Trader. This is the third book in the Prison Healer trilogy. Obviously, I just would really like to finish the series. The first one is about a very, very young girl that has been in this death prison pretty much her entire life. Nobody survives. She's the healer in this prison, and one day the rebel queen is brought to the prison very close to death, and the only way for her to escape is if she wins these trials. Kiva, that's the healer, she agrees to help her win these trials. She pretty much takes her place, and if she's able to get through them, then she wins her freedom along with the queen's freedom. So that's sort of the setup for the first one. Obviously, it goes way beyond that into the second book. I can't really get into that, and I obviously can't get into the setup for this book without giving anything away, but I do remember the way the second book ended, and it kind of went a little wild on that one, so I don't really know where we're going to go once we hit this third one. Then we have Caught Up by Liz Tomforty. This is the third book in her Windy City series. These are all interconnected sports romances. And this one is following a baseball player and his nanny. I've heard that Kai is some people's favorite male character out of all of her books. I happen to adore The Right Move and that whole storyline, but we'll see. Liz Tomforty just, she writes incredible men. I have high hopes for that one. Okay. Now we're going to get into some of the books that I had that I would like to reread. I'm trying to be a little bit better about that this year. Still not doing great, but like I did have a list of books that I wanted to get to through the year, so some of them are included in this. Like most people, I want to read When the Moon Hatched again, because Ballad of Fallen Dragons just recently came out. There was quite a time gap between the two, which, you know, perfectly fine. It means that she was most likely trying to make sure the second book was like perfect and as well done as it could be. I applaud that. I think that's incredible. But that means that like all of this chunk of a book kind of didn't retain as well as I wanted it to. Like, I read so many books and I'm just not great at retaining information sometimes. So I would like to read this again. That way I can go into the second book knowing all of the little things from this and actually be able to like piece things together properly. So that is why we have this on the list. Then we have Into the Black Nowhere. This is the second book in the Unsub series. I actually am rereading this series because I have the fourth one on my physical TBR. I'd never read that one when it came out, and it has been probably like 6 or 7 years since I read the first three. And obviously I need a refresher before I go into the fourth one, especially something like a thriller, like where they're interconnected, like serial killers, mysteries. Like, I need to know all these little details, so that's why this is on the list. Then we have House of Bane and Blood by Alexis Menard. This is just on here because I adored this series the first time I read it. It's a little duology, and I just have been really wanting to get back into this world. Her new book releases soon, so I think maybe I'll just read this duology and then jump right into her new release. This is kind of like giving Peaky Blinders vibes, and I recently started watching the show, which is another reason that I want to read this. That way I can really actually like appreciate those vibes. But it's set in a post-industrial world where some of the people have powers. They're called remnants, and they have like elemental gifts. There's vampires, different things like that. And then on the other side of the river are people that don't have any powers, and there's always this tension between them. The two, the main female character and the main male character in here are from different sides of this river, and they agree to an arranged marriage to help both families, but also kind of like bring together the different sides of the river. Like I said, I loved this book when I first read it, so really, 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 really plan on getting to that this month. Oh, this is not a reread. I don't know how this got in this stack. My bad. This is Warrior Fae. This is the last book in the Ruthless Boys the Zodiac Academy series. This is like the prequel series to the Zodiac Academy. Like 8 books in that world. I was told to read the first 2 or 3 and then read this series and then go back, because this gave a lot of information that would be helpful to know. I kind of wish I hadn't done that, because I was really enjoying Zodiac Academy, and then I did enjoy like the first 2 books in here, But by the time I got to the third and fourth one, I was like, this series just seems to be dragging a little bit too much. We've kind of lost the plot. We care a lot more about the romance than the actual mystery that she was trying to solve in the first two books. So it kind of dragged out for me. And I really want to get to this book, get this one done. Hopefully it wraps up in a way that's satisfying, and then I can get back to the Zodiac Academy series, which is what I really want. Like, I wanted to finish that series last year, but hadn't realized the recommended reading order, so it was a whole thing. But yeah, I would really like to get through this. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see if I'm in the mood, because that's a really long book. Anyway, back to my reread books. We have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This probably sounds really random, but I really loved this when I first read the trilogy. It's a fantastic young adult mystery series. There is a TV show. I would love to watch the TV show, but I want to read the book and then jump into the TV show, kind of see what the similarities, differences are, you know, just really appreciate it that way. And like I said, I did really enjoy this series when I first read it years ago now. Okay, we are almost the entire way through these 30 books. I do have a couple on my list that I don't own physically. They're on my Kindle, so I'm just gonna pull up the list that I made, and we're gonna go over those. So first up on my Kindle list, we have the City of Gods and Monsters series. This is on my 26 and 2026 TBR. I don't actually know much about this. I think it's more of like a modern fantasy, but I could be very wrong about that. I just know that a lot of the creators that I love this series, highly recommended. So that's how it ended up on the list. Then we have the next book in the Poppy Wars trilogy. I think it's the Dragon Republic. The first book went so hard and is just very heavy and dark, has really important themes in it, but like I just wasn't mentally ready to go into the second book after finishing it, so that's why we haven't gotten to that one yet. But I do really, really want to. Like, I know that it's a very highly regarded fantasy series, so I need to get to the second one. I really want to. I also just really want to get through more of R.F. Kuang's books because her writing is incredible. Then we have the Shadowlands. This is the second book to Savage Lands, which is I don't know how to describe this series. It's a fantasy series, and the first one follows a young woman that ends up thrown in this really dangerous prison where there's all sorts of magical beings, fae and demons, and like all of these crazy magical beings, like I said. And it's an extremely dangerous prison, and if you do too many things wrong, you end up sort of like in their fight club. Which sounds ridiculous, but like it's pretty much like you have to fight all of these other people, that prisoners that have ended up on this list, and it's a fight to the death. And the main female character has managed to find herself in this position even though she has zero magical abilities, whereas everybody else has some sort of them. And obviously I can't speak to what the premise of the second book is because that would give things away, but I did really love the first one, so I'd love to read this one. And then next up we have Bonds of Hercules. This is the sequel to Blood of Hercules. Absolute mind bend book. Like, felt like a fever dream reading it, and I honestly couldn't say for sure if I liked it or disliked it. Like, it was one of those weird books, but I'm intrigued enough that I want to go into the second one because it's so weird. It's inspired by Olympic gods, and quite frankly, I don't think I could explain the rest of the premise very well because I didn't personally understand it. Like, the descendants of these gods are thrown into this weird academy, but like they're kind of fighting to the death during the academy, even though there's not a lot of descendants. It doesn't make sense that they're doing this, but like that's where the main female character finds herself. I think it's a why choose romance between her and some of the other Greek gods that were her professors. It was just, there was so much going on. It was a fever dream, but like I said, I am intrigued to see where she goes with the second one. Two more books on the list. We have Brimstone, which is the sequel to Quicksilver. I read that at the end of last year and was very pleasantly surprised. I didn't think I was going to like it that much. I've heard some people say it's pretty much a ripoff of a.k.a. Did I get a.k.a. vibes from it? Yes, but I think like it had a bunch of its own standout moments that made it really good, really unique, and I just want to see kind of where she takes this world from the first one, because I think she set it up to really go its own direction and not really be able to have those comparisons anymore, hopefully. Anyway. And then the last one on my list is really random. So this one was actually in a recommendation video for people that wanted books that were inspired by Spencer Reid from Criminal Minds. And if you haven't watched Criminal Minds, Spencer Reid is the very, very nerdy, extremely high IQ member of the BAU that is also very secretly hot. Like, he doesn't know that he is, but he's like nerdy hot. And yeah, so that was like right up my alley. Really was instantly like, yes, like what is this recommendation? So it's called Ranger by Dr. Rebecca Sharp, and it follows a young woman who was a romance author, and she eventually, I guess, gets canceled. Like, cancel culture claims her as a victim. So her relationship implodes, she tanks her career, and she decides, you know what, I'm done. I'm moving to the middle of nowhere. So she moves to this very small town in Wyoming, and she just wants to forget all about her life, all about her career, everything. It says that her landlord, though, is incredibly intelligent and endearingly awkward. So obviously this is who is based off of Spencer Reid. It says he has an exceptional IQ, and he knows that he's too smart for his own good, and he's too smart to find love like the rest of his brothers, so he ignores the pull he feels for the woman renting his garage apartment and sticks to facts instead. However, the press show up looking for a story on her, and it says that they bring with her a dangerous plot twist. I guess they're out for blood. They start causing all of these problems, and he is determined to help save her from this problem. And I guess for some odd reason that ends up in them getting married. Don't really know how we get to that, but it says that it's like an arranged marriage, so... it has a couple different tropes in it that I enjoy. It sounds like it could be kind of fun. I don't know if it ends up getting a little bit of a mystery element in there or not, like a suspense romance, or if it's really just romance and the main character is based on Spencer Reid. Either way, I'm here for it and really hoping that it gives the vibes that I want it to. But yeah. Those are all of the books that are on my June TBR, all 30 of them. We will see how many I get through. We will see how much I stick to this TBR, because like I said, it has evolved multiple times since I came up with this idea and started kind of curating it. There's just so much on my list that I really want to get to. But I'm excited to have a month kind of where I can maybe be a little bit more mood dependent on my reads. And we'll see if I can, hopefully my mood gravitates towards something in this list, because there's a lot of them. But anyway, that is all that I have for this video. Thank you so much for sticking around if you've made it this far. If you have, and you have a favorite in this list that you think I should get to, please let me know. Obviously, I want bangers for my birthday month. Like, that is all that I really, really want. So let me know if there's any in this. You'll also probably notice I decided not to do my 3 non-negotiables for the month because, like, quite frankly, none of them are going to be the bangers that I want them to be. So I decided we're going to give me some grace and not do those this month. We'll jump back to that next month. But anyway, yeah, that is everything that I've got. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video very soon. Bye.